In going through the Bible, book by book and chapter by chapter, we're now in Exodus chapter 16. Now, Moses has led the children of Israel out of Egypt. They've crossed the Red Sea. They're in the wilderness. And what do they start doing? They complain. They complain about not having food. They start off by complaining against Moses, saying, "You've brought us out of Egypt so that we can die here of starvation." Some of them will even say, "Wasn't it better for us when we were back in Egypt sitting by pots of meat and having bread whenever we wanted it?" Now, what they've done is they've forgotten how bad it was in Egypt, because things are actually going better for them now, and they have different things to complain about. We all do that from time to time. We'll wake up, we're having a bad day, and we think this is the worst day ever, not remembering that a week ago we had the worst day ever. And we look for people to blame when we're feeling down and we're upset about something. That's exactly what Israel is doing here. They're upset because they don't have food, they're hungry, they want food now, and so they come to Moses and they say, "Moses, this is all your fault. Why'd you bring us out here to die?" Moses comes back and says, "Listen, who am I that you complain to me? I am nobody. What you are doing is you are complaining against the very God who brought you out of Egypt. God is the one who parted the Red Sea. God is the one who gave us the pillar of cloud and the pillar of fire. God is the one who performed those 10 signs and wonders in Egypt. God is the one who's leading us now. You're complaining about what God is doing for you." We do that also. We complain about the wonderful gifts that God has given us. When it's raining, which is a blessing, we complain about the rain. When it's sunny, which is a blessing, we complain about the sun. We always find something to complain about when we're receiving blessings from the Lord. What we need to be is we need to be people like Moses, who trusted that God was going to take care of him and God was going to do exactly what he said. Now, we're not necessarily promised a pillar of cloud and fire that's going to guide us to the promised land. But we are told that if we'll follow the scriptures and do what God says, he'll give us everything that we need. And that's what God does here. They're complaining for food, so he gives them food. He's going to send them manna from heaven. And what he does is he sets up this system where they're going to receive manna every day for 6 days out of the week. On the 6th day, they're to gather twice as much as normal, so that on the Sabbath day, which is the 7th day of the week, our Saturday, they would not have to go work. They wouldn't have to gather anything. And Moses tells them, only gather enough for 1 day, except for the 6th day. Gather twice as much. Well, the manna comes, and some people gather more than they need, and they keep it overnight, and it stinks and it breeds worms. And Moses becomes very upset because they didn't trust God. It's not that they gathered too much food. It's not like the manna was going to run out. It's they didn't trust God to deliver again the next day. We have to be careful that we don't do that with other things. We don't trust that God is able to control everything that God says he controls. In Acts chapter 17, the Apostle Paul says that God is the one who's controlled all world history and all governments and all people in all places. God has always worked that out. We need to be careful that we don't mistrust God to always work that out for the good of his people. That doesn't mean things are always going to be great for us. Things were terrible for the Israelites in Egypt, but God delivered them and God saved them. That's what we need to trust in, that God will deliver us and God will save us according to the word of his promise. So we need to be people of the book who search through the book and trust everything that God tells us in this book. So they're going through and he sends them manna. And he explains to them how they're supposed to use it, why they're supposed to use it, and they're going to wind up taking some of it. They're going to put 2 quarts of manna inside the Ark of the Covenant, and they're going to keep it with them always, hopefully as a reminder that God takes care of his people. God has always taken care of his people, and God will always take care of his people. And that, going through the Bible book by book and chapter by chapter, is Exodus chapter 16.